My mother-in-law convinced my husband that I cheated, leading him to demand a paternity test. Now he regrets it and is begging for a second chance. But I have a surprise for him. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I'm 28 and feeling utterly lost and betrayed. I've been married to Owen, 30, for 3 years, and we've been together for a total of 5. When we first started dating, I was young and naive, ignoring the red flags because I was so infatuated with him. We met in college. I was studying journalism, passionate about uncovering truths, while he was focused on business, always sharing his grand plans for the future. We connected over our love for indie films and obscure 80s bands, and our first date was spent at a small record store, flipping through vinyls and sharing concert stories. From the beginning, Owen's mother, Diane, 55, was overly involved in our relationship. At first, I thought it was just a close mother-son bond, but I soon realized it was much more complicated. I remember meeting her for the first time at a family dinner after we'd been dating for a few months. She greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes and immediately started asking questions that felt more like an interrogation than casual conversation. Diane often made snide comments about my appearance, career, and family background. Things like, "Oh, you're wearing that? I guess not everyone can afford designer clothes," or, "It's nice that Owen is willing to date someone from such a humble background." Each remark was like a tiny dagger, slowly chipping away at my self-esteem. I tried to brush it off, hoping she would eventually warm up to me. Owen always defended her, saying she was just protective and that I was being too sensitive. Looking back, I see the truth more clearly. I should have recognized the major red flags, but I was so in love with Owen and desperate for his family's approval that I kept making excuses for Diane's behavior. Everything took a turn for the worse when Owen proposed to me on my 25th birthday. We had a small gathering at a nice restaurant with both our families, and I was incredibly nervous about how Diane would react when Owen got down on one knee and presented the ring. I was over the moon, but the moment quickly soured. Diane stood up, grabbed the ring box, and examined it closely. Then she turned to Owen and said, "Sweetie, don't you think this is a bit excessive for her? Your father didn't even spend this much on my engagement ring." I was mortified, but Owen just laughed it off and slipped the ring onto my finger. The rest of the evening was tense, filled with Diane's passive-aggressive comments about how I was trapping her son. My parents tried to smooth things over, but the damage was done. What should have been one of the happiest nights of my life was overshadowed by her behavior. Planning the wedding became a nightmare. Diane insisted on being involved in every detail, from the venue to the napkin colors. She'd show up unannounced at our apartment with bridal magazines and vendor catalogs, always pushing for more expensive options that we couldn't afford. She even tried to convince Owen that we should postpone the wedding, claiming we were rushing into things. I remember one particularly heated argument about the guest list. Diane wanted to invite a bunch of friends and distant relatives we'd never met. When I explained that we wanted a small, intimate wedding, she accused me of trying to exclude her family. As usual, Owen played peacemaker, which often meant giving in to his mother's demands. Despite all this, we got married, and I thought things would finally change. The wedding day was beautiful, despite Diane causing a scene by loudly criticizing the catering to anyone who would listen. But as I walked down the aisle and saw Owen's face, I felt that all the stress and drama had been worth it, at least for a moment. Things improved for a while after we moved to a different city for work, which meant less frequent visits from Diane. We were happy building our careers and discussing starting a family. I threw myself into my job and landed a position as a writer for a respected online magazine, while Owen impressed his bosses with his innovative ideas and strong work ethic. We spent our weekends exploring our new city, trying quirky restaurants and visiting local art exhibitions, and even adopted a scruffy terrier mix named Banjo. For the first time since we got together, I felt like we were truly building our own life, free from Diane's influence. Then, about 6 months ago, Owen got a promotion that required us to move back to our hometown. I was hesitant, but Owen was excited about the opportunity, so I agreed. I tried to stay positive, convincing myself that maybe things would be different this time. Perhaps Diane had mellowed out or gained some perspective during our time away. But soon, everything started to unravel. Diane began showing up at our house unannounced, often when Owen was at work. She criticized my housekeeping, my cooking, and even how I organized our closets. "Is this how you keep Owen's shirts? No wonder they always look so wrinkled when he visits me," she'd say. Or she'd rearrange our furniture while I was out, claiming she was just trying to make the space more functional. I tried to talk to Owen about it, but he always dismissed my concerns. "That's just how Mom is. She means well," he'd say. It was as if he couldn't see how much her constant presence and criticism were affecting me. I started to feel like a guest in my own home, always on edge, anticipating the next cutting remark or boundary violation. Things took a turn for the worse when I discovered I was pregnant 3 months ago. I was overjoyed, and Owen seemed happy too. We'd been trying for a baby, and I hoped this would finally bring us closer together. I imagined Diane softening with excitement about becoming a grandmother, her need to criticize me fading away. But when we told her, her reaction was anything but enthusiastic. She looked at me with suspicion and said, "Are you sure it's Owen's? You've been looking a bit different lately." The accusation felt like a slap in the face. I had never given Owen any reason to doubt my loyalty, and for his mother to suggest such a thing was deeply hurtful. Shocked, I looked to Owen for support, but he just laughed awkwardly and changed the subject. From that moment on, Diane's behavior escalated. She made comments about my weight gain, saying things like, "I hope you're not using the pregnancy as an excuse to let yourself go. Owen deserves a wife who takes care of herself." She even started showing up uninvited to my prenatal appointments, questioning the doctor about everything and implying that I couldn't care for myself or the baby. She bombarded me with old wives' tales, insisting I follow them meticulously. "Don't raise your arms above your head, or the cord will wrap around the baby's neck," or "You shouldn't eat that, it'll give the baby birthmarks." Owen thought it was sweet that his mother was so involved and didn't understand why I felt suffocated and undermined. Our arguments about Diane became more frequent and intense, and I found myself constantly justifying my feelings and defending my right to make decisions about my own pregnancy. Last week, everything came to a head. I overheard Diane talking to Owen on the phone. She was saying, "I just don't trust her, honey. You need to get a paternity test as soon as the baby is born. You can't be too careful these days." My heart sank as I listened, desperately hoping Owen would stand up to his mother. When I confronted him, my worst fears were confirmed. He agreed with her. "It's not that I don't trust you, but Mom has a point. Better safe than sorry, right?" In that moment, it felt like my entire world was crumbling. All those years together and the trust we'd built suddenly seemed worthless against his mother's unfounded accusations. Feeling suffocated, I packed a bag and went to stay with my sister Rachel. She's always been my rock, the one I could count on for honest advice. As I sat on her couch, sobbing and trying to explain everything, I realized how much I'd been bottling up. It's been a week now, and I've been ignoring calls and messages from both Owen and Diane. Owen keeps saying he wants to talk, but I don't even know where to start. How can I stay married to someone who believes his mother's accusations over his own wife? I'm 20 weeks pregnant, emotionally drained, and utterly lost. How can I raise a child in an environment where I'm constantly doubted and undermined? The thought of going back to that house terrifies me. At the same time, I'm scared of raising this baby alone. I always imagined having a partner to share the joys and challenges of parenthood with, and now that dream feels like it's slipping away. I guess I'm just looking for clarity. I'm feeling overwhelmed and unsure about my situation with Owen. Should I give him another chance to explain himself, or is this the final straw after years of ignoring red flags? Part of me wants to fight for my marriage and help Owen see how his mother's behavior is affecting us. But another part wonders if it's too late, if the damage is already done. I could really use some advice. I feel like I'm drowning in uncertainty and betrayal. At 28, I never thought I'd be facing the possibility of being a single mother, but here I am, trying to figure out what's best for myself and my unborn child. It's been about a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for your support and advice. Your comments have really helped me gain perspective. After spending 2 weeks at my sister's place, I knew it was time to confront Owen. Those 2 weeks were an emotional roller coaster. Some days I felt strong and determined to move forward, while other days I found myself crying, missing the life we built together and worrying about my future as a single mom. Rachel has been incredible throughout this time. She gave me space when I needed it, but was always there with a shoulder to cry on or a pint of ice cream during the tough moments. She even took a few days off work to accompany me to a prenatal checkup, knowing how nervous I was about going alone. After many heartfelt discussions with Rachel and some sessions with a therapist she recommended, I finally felt ready to talk to Owen. I asked him to meet me at a coffee shop near my sister's house. I was nervous, but I knew I needed to stand my ground. When we met, Owen immediately started apologizing. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. Part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction seeing him so distraught, but mostly I just felt sad. This wasn't how I had envisioned our lives together, especially with a baby on the way. Owen told me he'd had time to reflect and realized how hurtful his actions were. He admitted that he let his mother cloud his judgment and that he should have trusted me unconditionally. He shared how he had always struggled to stand up to her, having been conditioned from a young age to prioritize her feelings above everything else. I listened, but I made it clear that his behavior was unacceptable. I recounted the times I felt undermined and disrespected because of his mother's actions and his failure to set boundaries. I explained how agreeing to a paternity test was the last straw. It revealed a fundamental lack of trust in our relationship. As I spoke, I could see the realization dawning on Owen's face. It was as if he was finally seeing our relationship from my perspective, understanding the toll his mother's behavior and his own passivity had taken on me. He broke down, saying he had been a terrible husband and wanted to make things right. Owen told me he had spoken to his father, Robert, about everything. Apparently, Robert had reached his limit with Diane's behavior and gave Owen a wake-up call about how he was treating me. Owen said his father shared hard truths about his own marriage and regretted not setting firmer boundaries early on. This revelation about Robert surprised me. I had always seen him as a quiet, passive figure who let Diane take the lead. Learning that he finally spoke up gave me a glimmer of hope. Owen expressed hope that things could change. He said he was ready to set firm boundaries with his mother and even suggested moving to another city for some distance. He shared job opportunities he had researched, ones far enough away to minimize the chances of unexpected visits from Diane. He also offered to attend couples counseling to improve our communication and trust issues. I was conflicted. Part of me wanted to believe in him and give our marriage another shot, especially with the baby on the way. The thought of raising our child in a loving, united family was appealing. But another part of me couldn't shake the memory of how easily he had sided with his mother over me. The sting of his agreement to a paternity test was still fresh. After much contemplation, I told Owen I needed more time. I agreed to start couples counseling, but made it clear I wasn't ready to move back in with him yet. I insisted he confront his mother about her behavior first. To my surprise, he agreed without hesitation and asked if I would be willing to be there for support. I was hesitant, but ultimately agreed. Facing Diane made my stomach churn, but I knew it was essential for our future. The confrontation was intense. We met at Owen's parents' house with Robert present. Owen began by telling his mother that her treatment of me was unacceptable and that if she wanted a relationship with him and her future grandchild, things had to change. As expected, Diane reacted poorly. She accused me of turning her son against her and tried to guilt-trip Owen by listing all the sacrifices she had made for him over the years, including the long hours she had worked. During college, I had always relied on home-cooked meals and fresh laundry from Diane. But Owen finally stood his ground. He laid out all the hurtful things she'd said and done, detailing how they nearly cost him his marriage. He shared how her constant criticism had fueled his anxiety and stress, especially during my pregnancy. Hearing it all laid bare was tough, yet it felt validating to see Owen recognize the impact of her behavior. What surprised me most was Robert's reaction. He fully supported Owen, telling Diane that her behavior had been unacceptable for years and that he was tired of it too. He warned her that if she didn't change, she could lose not just her son, but her husband as well. Seeing Robert stand up to Diane made me realize how deeply her actions had affected their marriage. Diane broke down, alternating between apologies and accusations. She tried to position herself as the victim, claiming she only wanted the best for Owen. But he made it clear that until she could offer a sincere apology and change her ways, she wouldn't be welcome in our lives or around our child. As we left, I felt a swirl of emotions. I was proud of Owen for finally confronting his mother, but I also recognized that years of behavior wouldn't change overnight. We had a long road ahead. The confrontation drained me, and once we got in the car, I burst into tears. Owen held me close, and for the first time in months, it felt like we were truly united. For now, I'm still staying at my sister's, while Owen and I attend couples counseling twice a week. He's also started individual therapy to address his issues with Diane. We're taking things day by day. I'm cautiously optimistic, but keeping my guard up. The pregnancy is progressing well, and feeling our baby kick has been a bright spot amid the turmoil. I'm now 24 weeks along, and we found out we're having a little girl. Despite everything, I'm excited about becoming a mother, even though I'm still unsure about the future of my marriage. I'll update again when there are significant developments. Thank you all for your support and advice. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I'm now 36 weeks pregnant. A lot has happened, and I wanted to share some of the developments with you all. First, the good news. Owen has been making significant progress in therapy. He's been working hard on setting boundaries with his mother and prioritizing our relationship. We've continued with couples counseling, which has helped us communicate better and rebuild trust. It hasn't been easy. There have been tough sessions where we've had to confront painful truths about ourselves and our relationship. But slowly, we're learning to understand each other better. About a month ago, I felt comfortable enough to move back in with Owen. It wasn't an easy decision, and I spent many sleepless nights weighing the pros and cons. My friend Rachel was worried about me going back, fearing I might set myself up for more heartache. But I felt it was important to give our marriage a real chance, especially with the baby due soon. The first few days back were a bit awkward as we both tiptoed around each other, afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. Gradually, though, we started to fall back into our old routines, making dinner together, watching our favorite shows, and taking Banjo for walks in the park. Owen has been incredibly supportive, taking care of me during these last stages of pregnancy and making sure I'm comfortable. He's been at every doctor's appointment, asked thoughtful questions, and even signed us up for birthing classes. We've been working on the nursery together, painting the walls a soft yellow and assembling furniture. It's been a bonding experience, imagining our daughter in this space and talking about the kind of parents we want to be. These moments give me hope that we can build a happy future together. Here's a revised version. Family life has been a mixed bag lately. Unfortunately, Diane hasn't changed as much as we'd hoped. While she's not as openly hostile as before, she's found more subtle ways to insert herself into our lives. She sends Owen daily texts about the baby, making suggestions on everything from names to nursery decor. Initially, Owen responded to every message, but after discussing it in therapy, he started to limit his replies. Last week, things escalated. Diane showed up unannounced, claiming she had baby clothes to drop off. When I opened the door, she pushed past me, insisting she needed to see the nursery. I was home alone and felt my heart racing, sensing the baby kicking as if she knew I was upset. I asked Diane to leave, but she ignored me and went straight to the baby's room. She criticized everything, from the wall color to the crib we chose. When I insisted again that she leave, she said, "I'm just trying to make sure my granddaughter has the best. It's not my fault you don't know how to prepare for a baby." That was the last straw. I felt a surge of protective instinct for both myself and my unborn daughter. I firmly told her she was not welcome in our home without an invitation and that her behavior was unacceptable. My voice shook, but I stood my ground. I then called Owen at work, asking him to come home immediately. When he arrived, he was furious with his mother, a side of him I had never seen before. He reiterated the boundaries we had set and made it clear that if she couldn't respect them, she wouldn't be allowed to see the baby at all. Diane left in tears, but I felt a sense of relief knowing we had stood up for ourselves. Before she accuses me of turning her son against her again, I want to clarify that after a long discussion, Owen and I decided that all communication with Diane will go through Owen for now. She won't be allowed in our home or at the hospital when the baby arrives, unless explicitly invited. This was a tough decision, especially for Owen, but he agreed it was necessary for our family's well-being. This incident has been a wake-up call for both of us. While we've made progress in our relationship, it's clear that dealing with Diane will continue to be a challenge. Owen has promised to take a more proactive approach with his mother, and I'm cautiously optimistic. He even suggested we might need to consider moving further away if things don't improve. As for me, I'm focusing on the upcoming birth of our daughter. We've chosen the name Lily after my grandmother, and the nursery is finally complete despite Diane's criticisms. It's become my favorite room, and I often sit in the rocking chair, imagining holding Lily and singing her to sleep. My doctor says everything looks good, and we're just waiting for Lily to arrive. I'm feeling a mix of excitement and nerves, excited to meet our daughter, but anxious about the birth and the changes she'll bring to our lives. While I'm nervous about becoming a mother, especially with all the family drama, I'm also hopeful. Owen and I are in a much better place than we were a few months ago, and I believe we can face any challenges together. We've been through so much already, and it's made us stronger as a couple. I'll update again after the baby is born. Thank you all for your continued support and advice. It's been invaluable during this challenging time. Update 3. Hi everyone, it's been about 2 months since my last update, and I wanted to share the latest developments with you all. First and foremost, our daughter Lily was born. Born just 5 weeks ago, the experience of labor was intense. 18 hours that truly tested my strength in ways I never expected. But the moment they placed Lily on my chest, all the pain and exhaustion melted away. She's a healthy, beautiful baby girl with Owen's eyes and my nose. Becoming parents has been incredible for both Owen and me, despite the challenges we've faced. Seeing Lily's face and holding her in our arms has made it all worthwhile. The first few weeks have been a whirlwind of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and figuring out breastfeeding. It's been exhausting, but also filled with pure joy. Lily's first smile, the way she grips our fingers with her tiny hand, and the soft sounds she makes while sleeping. As for family dynamics, I'm happy to report that Owen has remained supportive and has set firm boundaries with his mother, Diane. We decided against having her at the hospital during Lily's birth, which caused some drama. She called Owen repeatedly and even tried to guilt-trip him through other family members. But Owen stood his ground, allowing us to enjoy those precious first moments with our daughter in peace. Since coming home, Diane has attempted to visit several times. Owen has managed these requests firmly, making it clear that any visits need to be planned in advance and that disrespect towards me or our parenting choices will lead to immediate end of the visit. We allowed Diane to meet Lily for the first time last week. While the visit was tense, Owen quickly shut down any criticism she had about how we were holding the baby or the nursery setup, reminding her that we are Lily's parents and our decisions are final. I'm so proud of how Owen has handled everything. He's been a wonderful father to Lily and an incredible support for me. Owen has really stepped up by taking night shifts with the baby and learning how to change diapers and soothe her cries. This experience has strengthened our relationship. While we still face challenges, we're tackling them together. As for me, motherhood is a mix of exhaustion and incredible rewards. There are times I feel overwhelmed and question if I'm doing everything right, but when Lily looks up at me with her big eyes, I know we'll figure it out together. I'm so grateful for Owen's support, and I'm glad we've been able to present a united front in dealing with Diane. Reflecting on the past year, it's hard to believe how much has changed. There were moments when I thought our marriage was over, but through hard work, therapy, and a commitment to change, Owen and I have rebuilt our relationship on a stronger foundation. While things aren't perfect and we still have disagreements, especially regarding Diane, we're in a much better place now with clearer boundaries and improved communication. We're both dedicated to creating a loving, stable home for Lily, and that shared goal has brought us closer together. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable. I don't plan to share further updates, but I wanted you to know that things have turned out better than I could have hoped. Lily is the light of our lives, and Owen and I are committed to giving her the loving, drama-free home she deserves.